Dragon Ball has some of the craziest fights in anime, but sometimes, the way characters go out is straight up brutal. Let's start with one of the most shocking deaths in the series, Krillin. Krillin, the brave but outmatched Z-fighter, was never afraid to put himself in danger, but against Frieza, he never stood a chance. Using his telekinesis, Frieza lifted Krillin into the air like a ragdoll. Helpless, unable to fight back, Krillin screamed as his body trembled under the crushing force. Bones cracked, his lungs compressed. Then, in an instant, boom, Frieza snapped his fingers, and Krillin's body burst apart from the inside out, chunks of flesh and energy scattering in all directions. A bright flash of red and white filled the sky. For a moment, there was nothing left, but this wasn't just another death. This was the breaking point. Goku stood frozen, his fists shaking, his eyes wide with shock. The air crackled with energy, and in that moment of pure grief and rage, something inside him snapped. Krillin's brutal death didn't just end his life, it changed Dragon Ball forever. Brutality level 9 out of 10. Future Gohan. Future Gohan, the last warrior of a dying world, fought until his very last breath, but even he couldn't escape his fate. In this timeline, Goku had died from a heart virus. The remaining Z-fighters wiped out. With no one left to protect the Earth, androids 17 and 18 turned it into their personal playground, slaughtering humans for fun. The only one left standing was Gohan. Scarred, hardened, and battle-worn, he became Trunks' mentor, the last hope for a future that seemed beyond saving. But even Gohan had his limits. After years of brutal battles, his body was failing. He had already lost an arm, but when the androids attacked once again, Gohan refused to run. He fought with everything he had, unleashing a flurry of punches, kicks, and energy blasts. For a moment, it seemed like he might win. Then, the androids got serious. A relentless barrage of attacks, energy beams tearing through the sky, kicks landing like sledgehammers, sent Gohan flying. Then, a final blast. His body hit the flooded streets motionless. The rain poured down, washing away the last fighter of Earth. And then, the most heartbreaking moment, Trunks finding him, his mentor, his hero, his last hope, now nothing more than a lifeless corpse. Trunks screamed, tears streaming down his face as lightning split the sky. Future Gohan's death wasn't just brutal, it was tragic. Brutality level 8 out of 10. Android 16. Android 16, the gentle giant, built for destruction, but known for his heart. In the end, his death was one of the most brutal and tragic in Dragon Ball history. Created by Dr. Gero, Android 16 was designed to be a cold-blooded killer, a machine built to eliminate Goku. But instead of following that path, he chose peace. Unlike androids 17 and 18, he had no interest in destruction, only nature, life, and protecting the innocent. Yet when Cell became an unstoppable force, 16 knew what had to be done. He tried to self-destruct, sacrificing himself to take Cell down, but Dr. Gero had removed his bomb, leaving him powerless. Instead, Cell beat him mercilessly, ripping his body apart until all that remained was his severed head, and then his final moment. 16, barely functioning, spoke to Gohan, urging him to fight, to protect what matters, to let go of his hesitation. His words could have changed everything if Cell hadn't stopped them. With a sickening crunch, Cell crushed 16's head under his foot. Circuits sparked, metal crunched, and just like that, Android 16 was gone. But this wasn't just any death. This was the trigger, the moment that pushed Gohan over the edge, igniting the rage that led to his legendary Super Saiyan 2 transformation. Android 16's death wasn't just brutal, it was the spark that changed Dragon Ball forever. Brutality level 7 out of 10. Frieza. Frieza, the tyrant who once ruled the universe with fear, had already been defeated by Goku. But when he returned, he learned the hard way. His reign of terror was over. After surviving Namek's destruction, Frieza was rebuilt as Mecha Frieza, stronger, faster, deadlier. With his father, King Cold, by his side, he set his sights on Earth, eager for revenge. He thought it would be easy. He had no idea what was coming. Then, future Trunks arrived. Frieza barely had time to react. In an instant, Trunks sliced through his army like they were nothing. The young Saiyan stood before Frieza, calm, unfazed, his sword gleaming. Frieza, once the most feared being in the galaxy, threw everything he had at Trunks, but it didn't matter. With blinding speed, Trunks dodged every attack. Then, in one clean motion, he swung his sword. Frieza froze. A thin purple line appeared across his body. His eyes widened in shock, and then his body slid apart, sliced into pieces. His limbs, his torso, his head, all severed in an instant. Before he could even comprehend what had happened, Trunks raised his hand and fired. Boom! Frieza's remains were obliterated in a single blast. The tyrant who had slaughtered billions, who had pushed Goku to his limits, who had ruled with absolute cruelty, was gone gone in seconds. No drawn-out battle, no dramatic last words, just pure, ruthless execution. Brutality level 8 out of 10. Vegeta, the proud Saiyan prince, had spent his life chasing power, but in the end, his greatest moment wasn't about strength, it was about sacrifice. Consumed by pride, Vegeta had allowed Babidi to take control of him, unlocking his full potential as Majin Vegeta. Fueled by his desire to surpass Goku, he had abandoned everything, his family, his honor, just for a chance at victory. But when Majin Buu was unleashed, Vegeta realized something horrifying. This wasn't a battle he could win. Buu wasn't just strong, he was unkillable. Every attack, every blast, every ounce of effort was useless. For the first time, Vegeta was truly powerless. That's when he made his choice. He turned to Trunks, held him close, whispered his final words. For the first time in his life, he embraced his son, and then he knocked Trunks and Goten unconscious so they wouldn't have to see what happened next. Vegeta rose into the sky, his energy surging. His entire body glowed with raw, explosive power. He let out a final defiant scream, and then he detonated. Boom! A blinding explosion erupted, engulfing everything in its path. His body turned to stone, cracking apart as the blast expanded outward, and then there was nothing. Vegeta was gone, but the worst part, it was all for nothing. When the dust settled, Buu stood there, completely unharmed. Vegeta's sacrifice had meant nothing except that, for the first time in his life, he fought for someone other than himself. Brutality level 7.5 out of 10. Super Buu, a monster with no remorse, no hesitation, and no limits. When he got bored, the entire human race paid the price. By this point, Buu had already proven himself to be an unstoppable force. He was fast, unpredictable, and capable of regenerating from any attack. But what made him truly terrifying wasn't just his strength, it was his pure, sadistic nature. After waiting for a worthy opponent, Buu realized something. He didn't need to fight humans, he could just erase them. So, with a casual flick of his wrist, he raised his arm to the sky. A single, devastating pink energy blast shot upward, then split into thousands, and then it rained death. Across the entire planet, people screamed in terror. Blasts rained from the sky like a meteor shower, vaporizing cities, towns, and everything in between. The entire human population, billions of innocent lives, were wiped out in an instant. No warning, no resistance, no hope. Just total annihilation. The only survivors were those with enough power to resist, and they could do nothing but watch. This wasn't just another death, it was genocide. Brutality level 10 out of 10. Cell, the ultimate life form, engineered to be unstoppable. But when he realized he was losing, he did what no other villain had dared. He decided to take Earth down with him. After Gohan's Super Saiyan 2 transformation, Cell was getting humiliated. The bio-android, who once saw himself as perfection, was now coughing up blood, shaking in fear. Gohan had shattered his arrogance and his body, but Cell had one last trick. His body began to expand, veins bulged, his skin stretched, crackling with unstable energy, and then he said it.
Very soon I am going to explode, and when I do, all of you are going to die with me. You and all of your friends on this whole planet.
This wasn't just an attack, this was a death sentence for the entire planet. No way to stop it, no way to fight back. Just a countdown to oblivion. Panic set in. Gohan froze. Vegeta froze. Even Goku, Earth's last hope, knew there was no stopping this, unless instant transmission. In the most selfless move of his life, Goku teleported to Cell's location, placing a hand on his monstrous body. He smiled, one last look at his son, then disappeared. Seconds later, boom, the explosion lit up the galaxy, a shockwave so powerful it could have shattered the entire solar system. King Kai's planet was obliterated on impact. Goku was gone, Cell was gone, the battle was over, or so they thought, because somehow Cell regenerated, and when he returned, he was stronger than ever. Goku's sacrifice was in vain. Brutality level 9 out of 10. Moro, the ancient sorcerer who devoured planets, believed he had become a god, but in the end, he was crushed. Literally, after absorbing the power of the earth itself, Moro became a giant, fusing his body with the planet. He was massive, unstoppable, until Goku did something that no one expected. He grew bigger. Tapping into his perfected Ultra Instinct, Goku summoned a colossal energy avatar, mirroring Moro's massive form. With divine power radiating from his body, Goku towered over the battlefield, staring down at the godlike monster who once threatened the universe. And then, he made his move. With one enormous hand, Goku grabbed Moro's head and squeezed. The villain thrashed, his enormous body shaking violently, his screams echoing across the planet. His face contorted in horror. For the first time, he knew fear. And then, crack. Moro's skull fractured under the pressure. His energy, once infinite, began to shatter like glass. His body crumbled, his massive form breaking apart into dust and stone. His reign of terror was over. Brutality level, 9.5 out of 10.